While the world's focus has been on Tesla and Chinese EV giants, Russia is quietly announcing plans to flood the market with new energy vehicles that could rival anything seen before. But what's driving this sudden shift? Will Russia's entry disrupt the current EV dominance, or is it all just talk? Stay tuned, because what Russia has planned could change everything. Russia's unexpected EV ambitions. For years, the world watched a fierce race unfold between electric vehicle giants like Tesla in the US and BYD in China. These names became synonymous with innovation, speed, and sustainability. Headlines buzzed about their rising production numbers, self-driving technologies, and global expansions. Meanwhile, in the cold stretches of the Eurasian continent, Russia remained quiet, almost forgotten in the global EV conversation. But while the world was distracted, Russia was quietly setting the stage for something that could shake the entire industry. It started with whispers, brief mentions in government meetings, small policy documents, and low-key announcements from unfamiliar tech companies. But by the time the Russian government revealed its ambitious plan to make new energy vehicles 10% of the nation's total vehicle output by 2030, the world began to take notice. This wasn't just about catching up. It was about entering the race with a game plan that had been carefully crafted behind the scenes. Historically, Russia's auto industry had been associated more with rugged military vehicles and Soviet-era Ladas than with sleek, modern electric cars. The country wasn't seen as a hub of eco-conscious innovation. But now, government officials were openly acknowledging the need for transformation. They cited environmental concerns, long-term economic strategy, and the urgency to reduce dependence on oil exports. After all, even in a resource-rich country, the world was moving on from fossil fuels. Russia didn't want to be left behind. So, what made this shift so significant? For starters, this wasn't just an empty promise. Russia's policymakers weren't only talking about EVs, they were building a national ecosystem to support them. Plans were drafted for factories, research hubs, and charging infrastructure. Public and private partnerships began forming quietly, away from the spotlight, to create a uniquely Russian approach to electrification. Perhaps the most surprising part was the speed. Within just a couple of years, Russia moved from vague policy ideas to drafting legislation, investing public funds, and setting up initial production capabilities. State-run media began promoting EV benefits, while cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg prepared for a cleaner, smarter transport future. What once seemed like an impossible dream was quickly turning into an official agenda and a national mission. But why now? Many believe the timing isn't a coincidence. The geopolitical tensions in recent years, sanctions, trade barriers, and shifting global alliances pushed Russia to rethink its economic strategies. Diversifying away from oil and gas wasn't just smart, it was necessary. And electric vehicles offered a unique opportunity, a tech-driven sector where Russia could leverage its strengths in raw materials, heavy industry, and scientific talent to create something new, something disruptive. It's also worth noting the public mood. Younger Russians, increasingly aware of climate change and digital innovation, began demanding more from their technology and infrastructure. The global EV boom, visible everywhere from YouTube car reviews to TikTok influencers, sparked curiosity. Could Russia produce its own EVs, cars that were both affordable and locally made? That question, once laughable, now felt like a challenge. As the rest of the world kept its eyes on Elon Musk's every tweet or China's newest battery breakthrough, Russia was building momentum. Not loudly, not with flashy ads, but steadily, with a blueprint that combined long-term planning, industrial strength, and a fresh sense of urgency. Government projections were bold, tens of thousands of NEVs by the end of the decade, with incentives for buyers, subsidies for manufacturers, and a gradual phase-out of older fossil fuel models. This wasn't about competing with Tesla directly. It was about carving out a new space in the EV market, one that reflected Russia's unique position in the world. With vast distances to cover, freezing temperatures to withstand, and a culture of tough engineering, Russian EVs would likely look and function differently. And that difference could become their biggest strength. In a world obsessed with the usual tech darlings, Russia's entry into the EV space feels like a plot twist no one saw coming. But maybe that's the point. While the giants battle it out in public, a quiet force is rising in the shadows, ready to surprise everyone. And the question is, are we paying enough attention? When Russia announced its intent to enter the electric vehicle game, many outsiders saw it as symbolic, a statement, not a serious move. But what came next made one thing clear. Russia isn't just experimenting with EVs. It's building the ecosystem from the ground up. At the heart of this transformation lies infrastructure, not just roads or factories, but a fully integrated environment where EVs can survive, thrive, and evolve into a viable alternative for Russian drivers. The government isn't just thinking about making electric cars, it's preparing the entire country to run on them. The numbers tell part of the story. Russia aims to boost EV production from just 8,000 vehicles in 2024 to a staggering 54,000 units by 2030. That's more than a seven-fold increase. But vehicles don't operate in a vacuum. Charging stations, battery recycling, software integration, and manufacturing platforms. These are the real pillars that will determine success. And Russia seems to know that. That's why billions of rubles have already been allocated to create what's being called a unified EV production platform. Think of it like a national blueprint, a master plan where parts, designs, and even software are standardized to simplify production and reduce costs. Instead of starting from scratch with each model, automakers will use the same digital and mechanical skeletons to create multiple cars faster and cheaper. But infrastructure isn't just about what happens in factories. On the streets of Russia's biggest cities, charging stations are slowly popping up, often in places you wouldn't expect. Airports, malls, business centers, and even roadside rest stops are being equipped to handle EV charging. By 2030, officials plan to install tens of thousands of charging points nationwide, including high-speed chargers along major highways. Of course, Russia's geography presents unique challenges. Winter temperatures can plunge to bone-cracking lows, which can drain battery range and slow down charging. So engineers are working on cold-weather solutions, from heated charging ports to batteries designed for sub-zero climates.